Want to transform your backyard into a thriving vegetable garden? We'll show you how, step by step, no matter your space or experience. Imagine enjoying fresh tomatoes, crisp carrots, and tender lettuces, all grown by your own hand. Whether you're working with a small patio or a sprawling lawn, we've got tips and tricks to help you start your own vegetable oasis. Gardening is not just a pastime, it's a way to connect with nature, nourish your body, and create a sustainable lifestyle. Let's dive into the first step: planning your garden. A successful vegetable garden starts with a good plan. You wouldn't embark on a road trip without a map, would you? Planning your garden is much the same. It's about knowing your destination and the best route to get there. So where do we begin? It's all about location, location, location. Your garden site selection is crucial. Look for a spot that gets at least 6 hours of sunlight each day. Most vegetables are sun lovers, and without enough light, they simply won't thrive. Avoid areas with large trees or buildings that might cast shadows for most of the day. Next, let's talk about soil. Good soil is like the bedrock of your garden. It's where your plants will sink their roots and draw nutrients. Ideally, you want soil that's rich, loose, and well-draining. If you squeeze a handful of your soil and it holds its shape but crumbles when you poke it, congratulations. You've got good soil. But don't worry if your soil isn't perfect. It's not a deal breaker. You can always improve it by adding organic matter like compost or aged manure. These additions will enrich your soil, providing your plants with the nutrients they need to grow strong and healthy. Remember, every garden is unique. Your garden's conditions might not be textbook perfect, but that doesn't mean you can't have a successful harvest. It's about understanding your garden's unique conditions and working with them, not against them. To help with this, we've brought in a gardening expert. They'll share some of their wisdom on the importance of good planning. Their years of experience have taught them that a well-planned garden is a fruitful garden. They'll share some of their top planning tips to ensure your garden thrives. In conclusion, planning is the first step towards a successful vegetable garden. It might seem like a lot to take in, but don't worry. Once you've got a good plan in place, you're already halfway there. With a good plan in place, you are ready to choose your vegetables. So, let's move on to the next step of our journey. It's time to decide what delicious veggies you'll be growing in your very own backyard garden. Choosing the right vegetables for your garden is crucial. This statement is as true as the sun is bright, and here's why. Every vegetable has its own unique set of needs, including the amount of sunlight it requires, the quality of soil it thrives in, and the space it needs to grow. Understanding these needs can make all the difference between a bountiful harvest and a garden full of wilted, underperforming plants. Let's dive into a few examples. Tomatoes, for instance, are a versatile choice for many gardeners. They require a long growing season and plenty of sunlight, but they're quite forgiving and can thrive in a variety of soil conditions. On the other hand, root vegetables like carrots and beets prefer cooler temperatures and well-drained soil. They also need ample space underground to grow, so they're a great choice if you have deep, fertile soil. Leafy greens such as spinach and lettuce, meanwhile, are perfect for those with limited space. They have a short growing season, which means you can enjoy fresh, homegrown salads in a matter of weeks. Now, let's hear from some experienced gardeners about their favorite crops. Jane from California shares, "I absolutely love growing peppers. They're a bit challenging, but once you get the hang of it, the payoff is totally worth it. Plus, they add such a vibrant color to my garden." Meanwhile, Mark from Florida says, "I always recommend beginners start with radishes. They're easy to grow and you can see results in as little as 20 days. It's a great confidence booster for new gardeners." And there you have it. A quick guide to choosing the right vegetables for your garden. Remember, the key is to understand what each plant needs and to choose vegetables that are well suited to your specific garden conditions. Of course, don't be afraid to experiment and try new things. Part of the fun of gardening is discovering what works best for you. Now that we have chosen our vegetables, it's time to prepare the soil and plant. So let's roll up our sleeves and get our hands dirty, shall we? Preparing the soil and planting correctly are essential for a thriving vegetable garden. So let's break it down into manageable steps. First, you're going to want to clear the area. Remove any weeds or grass that might compete with your vegetables for nutrients and sunlight. Once that's done, it's time to turn the soil. This process loosens the ground, making it easier for your plant's roots to spread and access water. Now let's talk about compost. Compost is decomposed organic matter and it's a fantastic soil conditioner. Mix it into your garden soil to add nutrients and improve its structure. If you don't have compost, don't worry. You can find bags of it at your local garden center. Next, let's move on to planting. The technique will depend on what you're planting, but here's a general rule of thumb. Dig a hole twice as wide and just as deep as the root ball of your plant. Place the plant in the hole, making sure the top of the root ball is level with the soil surface. Then, backfill the hole with soil, firming it gently around the plant. And what about seeds? Well, the depth at which you plant your seeds will vary depending on the type, but a good rule of thumb is to plant them 2 to 3 times as deep as they are wide. Make sure to space them out according to the instructions on the seed packet. Now let's talk tools. Some essentials for soil preparation and planting include a garden fork for turning soil, a spade for digging holes, a trowel for smaller tasks, and a watering can or hose to water your newly planted seeds or plants. Remember, patience is key. Gardening is a labor of love that requires time and dedication. But trust me, when you're biting into a crisp, fresh vegetable grown in your backyard, it'll all be worth it. With the planting done, let's move on to watering and maintenance. Proper watering and maintenance keep your garden healthy and productive. It's like the lifeline to your plants, and getting it right can mean the difference between a bountiful harvest and a disappointing one. There are various ways you can water your garden, and the best method depends on your garden size, the types of vegetables you're growing, and your local climate. A traditional watering can is perfect for small gardens or container plants. It allows you to control exactly where the water goes, which is important for avoiding leaf diseases in many vegetables. For larger gardens, a drip irrigation system, which delivers water directly to the plant's roots, might be a good fit. This method is efficient and can be automated, saving you time and water. Plus, it helps prevent the spread of diseases that can occur when water splashes on leaves. And then there's the automated sprinkler system. This option is great for those who want to set it and forget it. Just ensure it's set for the early morning to minimize evaporation and to give leaves plenty of time to dry before nightfall. Remember, your vegetables' watering needs will change throughout their life cycle. Seedlings need consistent moisture to help them establish, while mature plants need a deep watering less frequently. So keep an eye on your plants and adjust your watering schedule as needed. Now let's get hands-on with a DIY irrigation setup. Imagine this: a simple drip irrigation system using a garden hose, a timer, and some irrigation tubing. First, attach your garden hose to a water source, then connect the hose to a timer. Finally, attach the other end of the hose to the irrigation tubing, which you'll snake through your garden beds, near the base of your plants. Set your timer and voila, your own homemade irrigation system. Maintenance is another key aspect of garden care. Regular weeding, checking for pests, and replacing mulch are all tasks that will keep your garden in top shape. The fruits of your labor are almost ready. Let's talk about harvesting and enjoying your produce. Harvesting is the most rewarding part of gardening. It's that magical moment when you finally get to reap the fruits, or rather, the vegetables of your labor. Picture this: you're out in your garden, the sun is shining, and you're surrounded by an abundance of ripe, vibrant produce that you've grown with your own 2 hands. There's nothing quite like it. Now, the joy of harvesting isn't just about picking your vegetables, it's also about making sure you store and preserve them properly. You've put in all this hard work, so you want to make sure your produce stays fresh and tasty for as long as possible. For root vegetables like carrots and potatoes, keep them in a cool, dark place. A basement or cellar is perfect if you have one. For leafy greens and herbs, a good tip is to wrap them in a damp paper towel and keep them in the fridge. They'll stay crisp and fresh for days. And don't forget about the power of preservation. Canning, pickling, and freezing are all fantastic ways to extend the life of your harvest. Imagine having homegrown tomatoes in the middle of winter, or pickles made from your very own cucumbers. So there you have it. Embrace the joy of harvesting and make the most of your hard-earned produce. Start your garden today and enjoy fresh, homegrown vegetables. Subscribe for more gardening tips and tricks.